Elementary, and also to thank you for taking the time to come out tonight. Tonight's meeting is really for the developer and the landowner. It's not a Hanover County meeting, but it's the developer's opportunity to give you information, detailed information with regard to his proposal. So what we're going to do is have a presentation by the developer, and I would ask that should you have questions during that presentation, if you could please write your questions down so that we can make sure that everybody that's here tonight at least hears the entire presentation. After the presentation, we will have question and answer period. And during that time at the question and answer period, we will bring people up here to this microphone. So if you're not up here with this microphone in your hand, you shouldn't be talking. Did everybody hear that? Yes. Maybe not the ones that were talking heard it. I just want to make sure, because I can see you. So when people are up here talking, if we could please be respectful and courteous to each other, because we're all here as a community. And without further ado, I'm going to call on Andrew from the planning office to talk to you a little, just very briefly, about the process that we use in Hanover County with regard to these applications. Andrew?
Thank you, Ms. Dibble. I'm Andrew Pompey. I'm Deputy Director of Planning. We have a few other planning department staff here tonight. As Ms. Dibble mentioned, this is a community meeting organized and hosted by the applicant. It's part of our review process for zoning cases. So in this case, this applicant has submitted several different zoning applications that must be reviewed by the Planning Commission and ultimately decided upon by the Board of Supervisors. There is a request for a comprehensive plan amendment to change the land use designation from suburban neighborhood residential to employment center to accommodate the proposed uses. There's a rezoning application to rezone the property from A1 to M1, which is one of our industrial zoning districts. There's a conditional use permit application for substations and other utilities on the site. And then there's a special exception application to allow buildings higher than permitted in the M1 zoning district. So with these applications, they were submitted to Hanover County. Agencies reviewed the first set of submittals and provided comments to the applicant, and they're hosting this community meeting tonight. Once the applicant prepares his final or their final submittal, the Planning Commission public hearing will be scheduled. That's a public meeting where adjoining property owners receive notice and it's advertised in the paper. The Planning Commission makes a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors, so they either recommend approval or denial, but they're not the final decision. Another public hearing is held before the Board of Supervisors, and they have a final decision on all of those different zoning requests. So the applicant will tell you more about his proposal or their proposal tonight, but this is just early in the process. There are several other public hearings and votes that must take place prior to this particular request being approved or denied. So I'll turn it over to the applicant to continue the presentation.
Thank you, Andrew. We appreciate it. Can everybody hear me okay, just to start? Wonderful. Well, thank you, Andrew, and thank you, Supervisor Dibble, for the introductions. I'm Matt Roberts with the Hirschler Law Firm, here with the applicant team. Next slide, please, Chris. Just very quickly, we appreciate everybody being here this evening. Again, thank you all for coming out and spending some of your time with us. The goal tonight is to do a couple different things, both walk through the project with you, answer some high-level questions about what the project is, what it's proposing, what it's not proposing, try and address some of the issues that we've heard to date, and then ultimately get to some questions and answers from the community. Now, I will say we do want to be respectful of the venue this evening. They have asked us to be ready and try and get out of here between 7:45 and 7:50 so the janitorial staff can help clean up and get out of here at a decent time like the rest of us would like to. So appreciate your assistance with all that. Couple things just for this evening, as Ms. Dibble mentioned. Please hold any questions until the end. We have a mic set up. We have a speakers list in the back, and anybody who hasn't signed up can have an opportunity to speak as well. And because it's such a large group this evening, we just ask that everybody's mindful of your surroundings, your folks who are surrounding you, and please keep comments brief. If you've heard your question already answered, we'll try not to repeat things. And we're going to follow the golden rule tonight, all of us. We're going to be respectful of each other. We're here to help and answer your questions because I am sure there are quite a few. So with that, let's go ahead and dive right in. Just to quickly introduce the applicant's team up here. Sure, let's give it a try. So just quickly, while I'm doing this, let's see. Is that a little better for everybody? A little bit better yet? All right. So, as with any project, this is a team effort. We have a number of folks up here from the project team, everything from ownership to civil engineering, power consultants, water, legal and otherwise. So, we're all here this evening to pitch in and answer questions that you might have. But really, what you're seeing is years and years of experience, both in the data center realm and other development fields. Next slide, please, Chris. So the goal for tonight, we're going to be discussing the Hunting Hawk Technology Park proposal and what it includes, what it doesn't include, what's changed since the initial submission that you may not have seen so far, and again, also address some of your concerns and common concerns that we hear with these types of projects in general. Next slide, please, Chris. So first things first, I think it's important to understand how this project came about. The site has a very long history. This development team purchased the land back in 1989, starting over on the Wyndham side in Henrico, and ultimately in 1999 purchased the Hunting Hawk land that became the golf course a year later. Over the years, the comprehensive plan has actually changed quite a lot for this site. It's been everything from business park to suburban high residential, and actually has changed again in the last year. But importantly, in 2016, there was a proposal by this developer for an age-restricted community on the Hunting Hawk Golf Course, approximately 932 homes. That was filed, but ultimately did not go through because at the end of the day, there was a connection point that had been planned on the Henrico side over Dominion Club Drive. As many in the room probably remember and know, that road connection was ultimately removed on the Henrico side, removing the ability to have a separate connection point for that community. So fast forward to 2 years ago, and the comprehensive plan changes once again to a slightly lower designation for suburban residential. But as you can see in the slides here, the comprehensive plan has not been static for this site over the years. And as Andrew mentioned a moment ago, the current proposal has a request in it to change the comprehensive plan to capture what is the next highest and best use for this site, which is the data center proposal. Next slide, please. Which brings us to tonight. We're going to start off with, I think, just a very basic question, which is what is a data center? And really, in short, it's a building that's going to house computer equipment, servers, and the like to deal with internet traffic and things that make our daily lives possible. So if at any point today you ordered something off of Amazon, checked your social media, checked a website, you were utilizing data center services. So, ultimately, these things have become very ingrained in our everyday life. Next slide, please, Chris. What is this project actually proposing? As Andrew mentioned, there are 4 applications pending. One is to rezone the land to the county's M1 zoning district. That allows us to capture the data center use because it's permitted in that district. But importantly, that application comes with substantial proffer conditions aimed at mitigating the impacts of the site. The second thing is a comprehensive plan amendment, as Andrew mentioned, to change to an employment center, which again allows for and captures the proposed use on the site. There are also 2 follow-on applications. One is for a conditional use permit to allow for an electrical substation. You may remember, if you followed the original application, that there was a wastewater treatment plant also proposed. That has been removed, and we'll discuss why. And there's also a special exception to allow for slight increases in height, both for the buildings and the security fencing around the site. 62 feet for the building heights, as well as up to 10 feet for the security fencing. Next slide, please. The next couple of slides, we're going to walk around the site a little bit and talk to you about how we came to the conclusion of how the site layout ought to be done. Next slide, please, Chris. Just starting with the obvious, we looked at the surroundings for the site and the frontages of the site. We have the Chickahominy River sitting on the southern end of the site, as well as primary frontage along Ashland Road, and then some frontage along Cawthorn Road as well. As Chris is showing you here, when Hunt developed the Wyndham community, there was left a substantial buffer in between the homes and the Chickahominy River. So that's existing screening that we can work with. The next thing we looked at on the site are areas that are off limits, resource protection areas, RPAs, as a term you may have heard before. So those are areas that we must avoid. The site also contains various wetlands, which you should avoid as much as possible. and obviously, because of their importance for the ecological system in the community. From there, we started to build in the buffers to supplement existing vegetation on the site that's set to remain. As you saw on the last slide, 100 feet is proposed along the Chickahominy, and then along other property frontages, a 150-foot buffer is proposed, and then along each of the roads, 200 feet is proposed as well. Now, I think importantly with those buffers, I would note that that is not all new plantings. The goal for this site is to retain as much of the existing vegetation along those frontages as possible and supplement where things are thin, as you'll see in a couple minutes. So now that gives us a benchmark for where we can put the building areas and the roads throughout the site. As we talked about, the buildings are generally envisioned to be about 1 to 2 stories, 62 feet tall in total. And then as you can see, the proposal has changed from a wastewater treatment plant to a drain field system on some of the residue land located a little closer to Cawthorn Road. Those blue spots that you're seeing around the site provide for stormwater management and things such as that on site. The state has various requirements for how we are. Sure. Thank you. So, sir, we're going to keep, sir, I appreciate that. We're going to keep questions until the end, though. Thank you.
He's asking about chairs.
Oh, for chairs, I'm sorry. The school provided the chairs. I understand that there's some chairs left, and so if you're looking for one, please do grab one. So the other areas you're seeing on site are the stormwater management as well. Next slide, please, Chris. In addition to that, the site will have 3 substations that are proposed. Those are entirely within the site interior, nothing proposed exterior to the site. And that's ultimately going to be handed over to Dominion for use within their ultimate network, serving this site and other areas within the territory. Sure, we're doing our best, everybody. So one thing in here with the substations, right? So again, just to repeat for this slide for everybody, this is ultimately 3 substations on the site that get turned over to Dominion at the end of the day. Important thing to understand about that is that the developer pays for all that infrastructure and they pay for it up front. That is not something that shows up ultimately on your Dominion bill. Next slide, please. So we talked a little bit about the buffers, the setbacks, and what those minimums are from the exteriors of the site. One thing that's really important to remember, though, is that is not the same as the distance between any of your homes and the buildings that are proposed on site. It's actually quite a lot further away. So in reality, the closest home in Henrico is approximately 450 feet away from any of these buildings, and the closest home in Hanover is going to be approximately 480 feet from any of these buildings to start. Next slide, please, Chris. So what does that mean for what we're actually proposing overall? Overall, this site proposes 10 buildings, all data center, security gating and things such as that for security reasons and those that nature. 3 electrical substations, as we just talked about, again, all of which get turned over to Dominion. We have the various buffers and landscaping, both of which are existing vegetation and proposed vegetation, as well as quite a lot, and we'll talk about this in a moment, a lot of attention to the site lighting, noise standards, things how that works, both at the county and otherwise. And then lastly, there are generators proposed on the site, Tier 4 generators, which we'll talk about what that means in a moment. Some things that are not proposed with this site, however. We are not proposing a wastewater treatment plant as previously submitted. That is coming off the application as it moves forward. And also, no other on-site electrical generation or nuclear reactors, such as you may have seen in the recent Goochland TOD approval. We heard already a number of issues that have been expressed so far in relation to the site. So we're going to try and go through some of those at a high level for you. Perhaps the number one thing that's come up so far is water and its usage on the site. Where are we getting it from? How is it going to be used? So really, the site does not have access to a water line immediately adjacent to the site, but it does have well access. It has the ability to drill for wells, just similar to others in the area. Those wells, there's 3 that are proposed for the site. Those are going to be used entirely for domestic activities and fire suppression. That is, there is no proposal to cool these buildings with well water. When it comes to the actual water usage for the site, we think it's very important to understand what could go there today versus a data center. The by right capacity for this site is approximately 40 single-family homes. Now, utilizing the county's Department of Utilities data, the data centers actually ultimately utilize less water than the by right option. So under 10 data center buildings, and again, domestic uses, things like running the sinks, toilets, things of that nature, you're talking approximately 10,500 gallons per day, whereas the 40 single-family homes would generate approximately 14,000 gallons per day of water usage. There are separately 2 fire tanks that are proposed on site. Those are for safety reasons only. You fill them once and you hope that you never have to use them. They are approximately 250,000 gallons each. Now, the way that those get filled is not at a substantial draw rate. They can be drawn at a rate similar to domestic use to not put pressure on local wells. In terms of cooling the building, the anticipation is that an end user would ultimately use a closed loop water system. And what does that mean? What it means is that treated water ultimately gets trucked into the site from elsewhere and then is filled in water tanks that are established on site and utilized in a closed loop, meaning that once it's filled and generated through the buildings, it returns back and is treated and then is ultimately dispersed back through the site. So these are not tanks that are utilizing well water. They are not using potable water from other sources. It would be treated water that is brought in from elsewhere. Next slide, please. Sewer is a very similar story. So within that 10,500 gallons per day that we were talking about, that includes your sewer usage. So again, things like bathroom breaks, running the sinks, things of that nature. And as you saw, we are now proposing on-site drain fields, which we can speak to in a little bit, and not proposing the wastewater treatment plant. So all that wastewater would be treated in the drain fields adjacent to the site, and no wastewater treatment plant is necessary to make that a reality. Next slide, please. Perhaps the next most talked about issue that we've seen so far is going to be power. And so again, the site has the opportunity for a direct connection to the adjacent power line through the transmission corridor along the edge of the site. We'll ultimately connect those and utilize 3 on-site substations to distribute that power to the buildings and again, elsewhere within the Dominion territory because Dominion reserves that right. When it comes to power, data centers are often talked about in terms of the cost on your energy bill. A couple of things again. One is that upfront, the developer is required by Dominion to pay for all that infrastructure itself. So that is out of the developer's pocket. It is not a cost that shows up for the public. Related, in terms of actual charges for usage, that is something that Dominion Energy is trying to address right now through the State Corporation Commission. As you may know, the State Corporation Commission is the one that governs your rates and charges from Dominion. There's an active case right now that has actually gone through hearings, has had what they call supplemental briefings, and is really at a decision phase for the State Corporation Commission. And so that case is up here on the screen. For anybody who wants to follow along, you can look that up online, see all the filings, see all the activity. And a lot of that activity is actually done online through public hearings. Next slide, please. Air quality comes up quite a lot, and obviously so. So importantly for this site, this application is going to be proposing Tier 4 backup generators. Those generators are the highest regulated by the EPA. They have the lowest rate of emissions overall, and we're talking about the cleanest possible diesel generators that you can have. The air quality from the site is also governed through permits that are issued by the Virginia Department of Environmental Quality. So the Virginia Department of Environmental Quality, DEQ, will eventually issue air quality permits that cap and govern the emissions from the site. And it's important to understand too, these generators are there solely for the purpose of emergency backup. In the very unlikely event of a power outage, they would run. And otherwise, they are run for routine maintenance approximately once per month, about 10 to 30 minutes per generator. So in terms of power outages, we did some research and we're not able to find more than 2 across the entire United States within the last year or so. And locally, we're not aware of any. It is an extraordinarily rare event, but they are there nonetheless for that exact purpose. Noise is often brought up as well. Is this going to be noisy in my backyard? The county has 2 primary mechanisms for dealing with noise from data centers. One is its noise ordinance, and the second are proffers. So the county has really done an extraordinary job in terms of the stringent nature by which we have to measure noise coming from the site. As you can see on the slide, and you can go visit this online at any time, the county has maximum decibel levels that are required to be measured at the property lines, and it's relative to our adjacent zoning. So it's not the use itself, it's where the noise is being generated to on adjacent sites. Those numbers are dependent upon the time of day, but the reality of 52 decibels in the evening and 57 decibels during the day is approximately what you might find with in-home appliances. We just bought a new dishwasher at home. 50 decibels is right on the label. So we're talking right in the range of your home appliances. In terms of proffers, this site also has submitted proffers to back this up. The proffers say specifically that at the time of build out for each building, you have to do a noise study. And when we do that noise study, we have to know whether or not we are meeting the metrics that the noise ordinance says we have to meet. If we haven't met them, we must provide additional mitigation in order to achieve those levels. It is a metric that we either hit or we don't hit, and it is on the developer to make that a reality. The last thing, in fact, that's true. At the same time, at the property lines, what it ends up doing is protecting not only the neighbors in Hanover, but the neighbors in Henrico as well. Next slide. Lighting comes up as well. So lighting for this site is specifically designed to avoid off-site infiltration. It's in our proffers in a number of different ways, both in terms of the maximum height of any pole-mounted lighting, the maximum height of any building lighting, and then also 2 very specific things. One, all lighting needs to be pointed downward and needs to be shielded. That is, pretty standard issue light on the side there that you can see. Ultimately, that provides the inability for light to face upward into the sky. Secondly, we are proffering to 1/2 foot candle. That may not mean a whole lot to a lot of people in the room, but 1/2 foot candle is approximately what the moon looks like on a hazy evening. Very, very dim. Next slide, please. Traffic has also come up as a concern. In terms of industrial users, data centers by far are some of the lowest traffic generators that there can be. So in terms of the traffic being driven to the site, it's going to be done through employees. That is jobs coming to and from the site. So overall, the AM peak hour trips for this site are proposed at around 350 and PM peak hour trips at 117. The total daily trips for this site are about 121 per hour and really about 2,900 throughout the day. That's over 3 shifts. That is not all at once. That is not in one fell swoop. That is over 3 8-hour shifts throughout the day. Our traffic impact analysis ultimately talks to what we are supposed to do in order to mitigate this. In order to mitigate this, we are talking about doing traffic signal improvements down at the Ponce track, as well as right turn tapers and right turn lanes into the site. Next slide, please. We've also been asked about the timeline. So the timeline is a little bit dependent both on when the project gets approved, when end users are fully secured and things such as that. But assuming things started today, you'd be looking at approximately a 2035 build out for all 10 buildings. We're assuming approximately 3 phases, 2 to 4 buildings per phase, and that includes roads, substations, and ultimately the ancillary facilities that go along with it. Next slide, please. What's it gonna look like? That's also come up quite a bit as well. We've done a lot of work going around the site to find the various angles, and we're going to walk through those with you now. So along Ashland Road, there are various areas where the existing vegetation in the buffer will remain. As you can see from this view on the farther sort of southern end of Ashland Road, those boxes are where the data centers are proposed to be, and the existing vegetation there will handle the view shed. Next slide, please, Chris. When you get a little further up Ashland Road, there is a thinned area where ostensibly you might see it. This is where the buffer proffer comes into play. Next slide, please. Once planted, those trees will be approximately 6 feet at planting, give or take. You don't generally want to do taller than that because they don't tend to survive. So in terms of the planting, at approximately 6 feet at planting, and over the course of the next couple of years, the growth ultimately gets to full maturity. Also, these are evergreen trees, so we are talking about trees that are not going to lose leaves come the fall and the winter. Next slide, please. Similarly, a little further north along Ashland Road, you have another thinned area where you might ostensibly see the buildings. And again, the buffer proffer comes into play where supplemental plantings will be going in. Same thing as we start going a little further north along Ashland Road. Again, you can see where the existing vegetation will handle the view shed. Now moving to Cawthorn Road, there's quite a lot less visibility for the site from this area, just due to the limited frontage. But again, the existing vegetation that's proposed to remain here will ultimately screen everything from view. On the Wyndham side, you have some views from Dominion Club Drive. And here again, you can see where the data center is being set back approximately 450 feet from any given home are unlikely to be seen from any road or home. Similarly, along Morstead Court, you have a very similar set of views. Ellington Woods Place, again at that cul-de-sac, you have a very similar set of situations where the existing buffer on the Wyndham side and the proposed buffer on the Hunting Hawk side are going to fill in and supplement and get rid of the view shed for the data center buildings. Last but not least, why data centers for the county? It's important to understand what a data center brings to a community. Our initial fiscal impact analysis for this site is talking about approximately $8 to $10 million per year at full build out for the site. What that really means is that those taxes are coming from the use, the land, but really primarily the equipment. The equipment in a data center is changed out quite often, which keeps the depreciation low and ultimately keeps the tax value high. In terms of what $8 to $10 million per year means for the county, that's roughly that's going to be roughly $490 per person within the South Anna district, and roughly $70 per person throughout the county that is not paid on your real estate taxes. That is coming directly from this project. In terms of jobs, 420 jobs are proposed for this site at the end of the day. That is the projected operational jobs at full build out. That is something that are jobs in the future, jobs that are coming and are already here in various places like Northern Virginia. Next slide, please, Chris. So with that, we appreciate everybody's time. I'm sure there are quite a lot of questions that we have. We have our full team available here today. I'm going to do something real quick because we do have a limited period of time this evening. We do be out by 7:45. For folks who have signed up, can I first just see a show of hands? Who here is from Hanover? Great. Henrico? Great. And Goochland? Awesome. Thank you. So in the interest of making sure folks get heard, if you've signed up and are from Hanover, we're going to ask you to come up first to make sure that your questions get answered in a timely fashion. Sure. So up here on the dais with me, we've got folks from the